Welcome in. Happy Monday, Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined as always by Tyler Sprinkel. We're coming off a bye week, real slow news day for the Huskers, easing into to a big weekend. No major developments going on. Pretty easy going.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we didn't, make any big announcements today or give anything away. Kind of depressing. So I guess we tied the bye week this week.
Yeah. Well, I guess we did have some pretty big news. They brought in Matt Rule's former defensive coordinator to come in as an analyst over the bye week, which I'm pretty good with. Obviously, we like Tony White because typically you don't bring in an analyst to like overrule like the previous coordinator. Usually, it's just an extra set of eyes. Obviously, somebody that Matt Rule trusts. And I also heard that like this was Matt Rule's first choice as defensive coordinator, but he's like, I'm 68 years old. I don't want to grind like this anymore. And then so we settled for Tony White, which turned out to be pretty good. Yeah, actually bearing the lead. Actually, in hindsight, it feels crazy to bury this when I have the title up right above our heads. Dana Holgorsen brought in as an analyst last week. And I mean, that same sentiment that I just kind of sarcastically spewed off is what I was thinking. It's like, it's nice to have an extra set of eyes. Obviously, a dude is very well thought of, especially offensively. Had a lot of success with quarterbacks like Brandon Whedon and Zach Robinson and Will Greer, and had a couple of head coaching jobs strictly because of his play calling ability. However you feel like those stints went, it is what it is. But feels very unanimous that this guy knows offense. And this time last week, I'm like, oh, I love having a guy like that in the room. We find out today through Matt Rule, he's calling plays now. I didn't know that was on the table.
Yeah. I guess if you are a good coordinator in Tony White, you just need the extra set of eyes. You don't need somebody to come in and take your job. But here we are, Dana Holgorsen, the savior. It's so funny, the roller coaster that these seasons are for Nebraska fans. It's holy shit, we're going to win a national championship. Well, we'll at least go to the Big Ten championship. Well, we'll probably make a bowl game. Holy fuck, the house is on fire. Oh, we're going to a national championship. It's the best ride. It's the best ride in all of college sports.
Not a goddamn moment of peace.
No, but it's kind of nice that way because it always gives us something to talk about. Keeps us employed, if you will.
That's right. That's what always gives us something, even on a bye week.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was fun. I'm just so excited. Fucking finally. And now I'm going to have to go back and watch Dana Holgorsen. I'm going to have to see, the kind of things he does. Because it's going to really, really upset me if right away Dylan looks like the 5-star quarterback that he is. It'll be double-sided. It'll be awesome. I'm going to love to see it, but it's going to piss me off that we wasted so much time with fucking Marcus Satterfield. But I hope that something does change, because if it's the exact same, then we're just a broken team and we need to just disband.
Yeah, and specifically when Matt Rule was talking about this move, of course, now there's rumblings that he'll be back in 2025 as well. But the way that Matt Rule described it was like, this is for USC. And earlier he said, a couple weeks ago, he said, I'll do anything to get that 6th win. And he's kind of putting pen to paper there, bringing in a guy 12 weeks into the season to take over the offense, which is crazy to think about. I love it. It is, as unfortunately Marcus Satterfield's biggest defender, I didn't realize that this was an option. I was banging the table like, if you fire him, then what? You don't have anybody on the staff who can call plays. Yeah, hand up. I didn't realize that you could just go get a new offensive coordinator in November. But we talked about if there was going to be a time to make a move going into the final bye week, is the time to do it. And I'm juiced that they did.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I wonder how Satterfield's going to handle this. I would assume that he's going to be tight ends coach. But is he going to take the step back with pride and set his ego aside to help the team, or is he going to throw a fit? I'm not sure. I hope he realizes, I was not doing a very good job. It's just going to be interesting to see that power circle there. And I also wonder, is Dana going to be able to in the box, or is he going to be on the sideline?
Yeah, I don't know how that'll work. Do you remember Phineas and Ferb, like that moment in every episode where Kansas is about to catch Phineas and Ferb with the mom?
Yep.
She's finally going to be proven right. The funniest outcome to me is Nebraska comes out, they throw a quick wide receiver screen and touchdown.
Everybody blocks. Yeah.
Everybody blocks, and it works just as it's designed to, just as it's been designed all season. And the camera pans to Marcus Satterfield on the sideline or whatever doing that animation.
They can't do that. They can't do that. That would be so criminal.
But I think the only complaint that I'll see with this is that you can't run an air raid offense in the Big Ten, and I'm unclear about that. First and foremost, just watching how Oregon plays football, how C.J. Stroud and Ohio State played football, but I don't even think it
Indiana?
has like Indiana, the Hoosiers, how they play football. I immediately dismiss that because I think you can win with whatever kind of offense, but I don't think it necessarily has to be an air raid offense for this offense to look a lot better.
No.
And like when you're designing an air raid offense, you're designing to attack a defense's weaknesses. You're just using the passing game to do that. If you have the eyes for that, you can figure out how to also install an effective run game and maybe affect the short passing, which then opens up the downfield passes. So the only complaint that I've seen, it seems like poppycock to me.
Yeah, and it'll alleviate the run game, being able to just throw the ball, because they won't be able to just stack the box and be successful. Yeah, I don't understand people that say, well, you can't run this kind of offense or this kind of defense in these conferences. Well, you can. You just got to figure out how to do it successfully. And I think that's just what everybody's trying to do. Because if everybody did the same thing, then nobody would really have an upper hand, except for, I guess physical ability, but that can only really get you so far.
Yeah, and I think those are the people who remember Scott Frost's comments about, well, the Big Ten's going to have to adjust to us and the way that we play offense. And they opens up the worst 5-year span in Nebraska football history. So I think that's kind of where that sentiment's coming from. But nonetheless, poppycock.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hopefully see some long overdue excitement back in that locker room. I feel like we've just been really flat for a couple weeks. So hopefully the players are, I don't know if they were out. I don't think that they were anything like that, but hopefully it just re-sparks that, yeah, we're here. We're going to win 8 games.
I think so. I think it absolutely provides a spark because this time last year, I mean, Nebraska still had 5 wins. They still had 3 games ahead of them, 3 winnable games, mind you. But it just felt like that there was this impending pressure and kind of sense of doom. And you can kind of see how they play on the energy. And that's kind of what it felt like against UCLA. And now all of a sudden, even if nothing crazy gets changed, it feels like it provides a spark. It's like, okay, the coaching staff is doing everything they can to put us in a position to succeed. Now it's our turn to kind of come out and match that energy against 3 teams 3 winnable games. 8-4 is not completely off the table. I certainly wouldn't bet on it, but I mean, once you get that 6th win, everything gets easier from there.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's like hearing Matt Rule say, "I'm going to do whatever I can, physically, mentally possible, to get 6 wins," and I think that resonates in the locker room. Like the players will hear that and say, "Well, if he's doing that, he's thinking that. Why the hell aren't we?" So I hope it's a good turn for our football program because we need it.
Needed something. If nothing else, just that spark. And I think it kind of shifts the tone from desperation and panic to hunger and enthusiasm to go out there and make plays that we need to. Because I would like to see this offense. It feels like this offense is talented enough to be at least as good as Iowa's offense has been. For all the pointing and laughing that we've given the Hawkeyes, they've been productive on offense lately. Why can't we do that? They have Cade McNamara and a Northwestern recheck at quarterback.
I just want to say that the college football world is lucky that we don't play a ranked opponent again this year because we get that monkey off our back too. I believe that shit.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
sound very bought in on that.
well, I was just trying to think of a scenario where Iowa does get back ranked, and then I kind of talked myself out of it. I don't think there's a
Yeah, not
pathway
with
for
that
them.
loss to UCLA on Friday.
No. Very funny loss, by the way. That was a good hate watch.
See, it's hard for me to sit there and point and laugh. Like, I know they were talking shit, but I mean, we lost to them too. So it's like, do we really have a leg to stand on? No.
No, you're right. And it's not, it's surely just a matter of who lost to them first. Like they got the first laugh, we got the last laugh. So I'll take advantage of that. Does that make you feel any better about the UCLA loss?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. I mean, maybe if it was like Ohio State lost to them, then like maybe. But it's fucking Iowa. I mean, they stink just as bad as we do. It's not anything different.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I probably feel marginally better because now I don't know, it kind of proves that UCLA isn't just an absolute dog shit team. And when you look at their schedule, they played a couple of good teams pretty close, and they're certainly getting better as the year goes on. So that kind of helps a little bit. But the feelings that I had about the UCLA game were very little on UCLA, just how shitty Nebraska played the entire game.
Yeah,
and that doesn't go away.
Yeah, and in that game, it felt like we got outcoached, and then so I hope Dana helps alleviate that as well. I mean, I heard that his big thing was just coming in and teaching these guys how to block on the perimeter. Clearly, it's more than that, but hopefully, he's able to get that job done pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, as I kind of got clowned for saying a couple weeks ago, if we can just block on the perimeter, it opens up everything else that Nebraska wants to do with the football.
Yeah, it does.
So if you can do that and then some, I mean, hot dog.
But the thing is, too, we the inability from our guys to make people miss. Like, yeah, you get in the outside, then what? I mean,
yeah, how do you teach that?
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is there, and that's just going to be an everlasting issue, I think, for the rest of the season. But that's a big issue as well. But,
yeah, well, overall, just happy to see the hunger and the urgency from the coaches, because looking back at the last regime, it never felt like there was a real sense of urgency. Like those first couple of years, like I don't know, as much as I justified certain things, it never felt like they were like ever as hungry as this team is right now. And we're 20 games into the Matt Rule era, and they're already turning the dial up. I love it. It's very refreshing to see.
I'll say in hindsight, would have loved this move a long time ago, but like maybe probably after Indiana, I think I would have loved to see the switch. I'd like to say after Illinois, but you can't.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah,
they still put up 24 points that game. Like they were still. It felt like we were close.
Yeah.
Like it missed at that point. It seemed like the biggest problem was our special teams.
Like I said, in hindsight, I mean, you'd love to make this move a lot sooner, but definitely a couple weeks ago. I think after Indiana, I think we should have made the switch, but we got it today. That's all that cares. That's all that matters.
Better late than never. And you brought this up. I'm very curious on how this actually came to be, because there were rumors about Dana Holgorsen being in Lincoln, helping out before the season started, and then he ends up spending a good amount of time in Fort Worth, in Texas, helping out TCU. By the way, also Michael Terry's home state, so I just want to throw that out there. Texas ties is never a bad thing for Nebraska. And then all of a sudden he comes back in as an analyst, and then a week later he's named offensive coordinator. I'm just so curious what the progression was. Was the plan always to have him come in and call plays, or was it just like when you get a grown-up in a room full of teenagers, you're like, oh, this is different. We got to lean into this.
Yeah. So whenever I said that to you, I started thinking, Nebraska is a bigger opportunity to come in and be an analyst, right? Whatever. But I don't think it makes sense to do that in the middle of the season if Matt Rule didn't call him and say, hey, I want you to come be our OC. Like, I don't think you just make that switch in the middle of the season for no reason. I think that they were slow playing it just because, we have a bye week, they have a bye week. So don't let them go back and watch Dana Holgorsen tape. They're going to be watching the tape and then have to re-game plan. I wish we would have waited, but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point because this didn't have to be a Monday press conference thing. I guess in the sense like it re-energized the fan base, and that's not nothing. But yeah, if you hold on to this even to like the production meetings, like that really puts USC in a bind. And I'm sure that they did some scouting of him, but to know that he's the one, pulling the strings, that's a different level of detail. Yeah, that's a good point. Because why would Dana Holgorsen come up here? Because what I had figured it would be is that he would come in as an analyst role and then kind of set the tone for possibly transitioning into that role in 2025. But I mean, this is even better.
And maybe that was it. Like, hey, we're not sure what's going on right now, but the job is yours if you want in 2025. But we want you to come be a part of our team this year. And then things transpired to eventually just make the switch right now. That could be a thing. But I find it hard to believe that even that seemingly empty promise of you have the OC job in 2025 if you want it gets him to leave TCU in the middle of the season to come here.
Yeah.
Unless he just has a crazy relationship with Matt Rule that I don't know about. I mean,
there's obviously something there.
Sure. Yeah. But I think, money talks.
That's for sure.
Walks. So now, Satterfield's the highest paid tight ends coach in the nation.
Now we got 3 co-offensive coordinators now. Yeah. Just keep adding to the roster. But I mean, it's not my money. He can pay him by Marcus Satterfield $5 million. It doesn't matter to me. Obviously, I would like them to use that money elsewhere and be productive with it, but not my money. But yeah, that is pretty strange. I mean, I guess there are offensive coordinators that have been fired that are on the same pay scale as him. Oklahoma got rid of their OC. I'm sure he's making a good payout.
And I wonder if it's a buyout thing for Satterfield, why they didn't just fire him.
I mean, I'm sure there's some benefit in having some continuity. And I would also assume, because you mentioned, like, how does somebody react to this kind of demotion? I would imagine that Matt Rule would see it more productive, him being there, being, kind of having that continuity. And maybe he stays on in the staff at some role. I know he's out recruiting right now, so maybe they appreciate him as a recruiter, but I don't know.
Yeah, look at my game film. Look at these plays I'm calling. Yeah, well, if I had you out there, we'd definitely make this work. Like, what the hell is he saying to these kids?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just where he's at. Yeah, that is pretty crazy because they did send him out on the road to recruit over the bye week, and then to come in. Maybe that's why they didn't announce right away. Like, we don't want to send a fired coach out there.
Yeah,
trying to pitch a message.
Brooke brought up Mickey Joseph on Saturday.
Interesting.
And it came from, we were talking about McGuire and how he just is not the best at the moment.
Yeah.
So you bring Mickey Joseph in to coach the wide receivers, and we all know about how incredibly amazing he is at recruiting. But then I brought up, the legal troubles of whatever happened, which, the funny thing is, whenever he left or got fired, I forget what happened. I didn't hear a single word about it.
Nothing.
So I don't know what really happened there. I hope the best for Mickey, him and Vance. It's crazy the full circle moment we've had with Vance Joseph, you and I.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I don't know if I'm a big enough man to do that, but I've also never been in that situation. So to get fired and then come back a few years later to be the DC of the team that fired me.
And that would be pretty crazy if it happened to both brothers in two completely separate separate worlds. That would be crazy.
Fans just talking to him. Hey, you know, honestly, dude, it's not that bad. You know.
Like, don't worry, just do a good job and they'll love you again. And my whole
So he
conspiracy
brought
thing
up,
with Mickey Joseph is that Trev Alberts didn't want to have to consider him as a head coach, so he planted some information.
which that would be some devious ass shit.
And knowing what we know about Trev Alberts now, I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
Wouldn't put something like that past him. He's a slimy fella.
Damn. But it was never going to be Mickey Joseph. It was never going to be him.
It wasn't totally out of the realm of possibility.
But he's not. You know what it felt like? If he were to become the head coach, it would have felt like fuck, I forget his name. The guy that's coaching Michigan now. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because it's not a big hire, and you're sitting there like, dude, Nebraska's a huge name, Michigan's a huge brand name, and you're bringing in this guy to coach.
Yeah, I'm not saying it would have been the right move. I'm just saying that it wasn't out of the realm of possibility, and certainly something that I'm sure Alberts was getting a bunch of questions on down the stretch. Like, I might just nip this in the bud.
I forget what was his tenure like in Nebraska.
Mickey Joseph
as head coach, yeah.
It was fine because I think he took over. The team was already 0-2, so he gets blown out by Oklahoma, wins 4 games.
Right, it was like right at the beginning of the year. Fuck.
After that, a Georgia Southern or Georgia State game.
Yeah, damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then we went on to beat Iowa, so I think that's why it had legs. And then obviously very well talked about as a recruiter, as he's got all those LSU wide receivers that he hitched his wagon to. So there was some to be excited about if he was the guy. But yeah, I'm very happy with how things transpired. And then it made it a lot easier for Trev Alberts to not have to entertain that.
Yeah.
So that would be an interesting
Joseph,
move.
though. That would be fun. Or I was talking to Brooke. This is what's kind of stirred all this up. Before Dana came in, like before he was announced, I looked Brooke dead in the face and I said, I 100% think wholeheartedly that we should bring Scott Frost in as OC. And he gave me the dumbest look. I'm like, listen, he fucked up once. There's no way he does the same shit again. Like there's no way.
All right. Well, let's settle down here. Just because let's really pat the horses. In what world does it work out to have this? Yes, he was really good as an offensive coordinator. But you saw how bad he was as a head coach. He got fired. I mean, imagine bringing in a guy who was a good offensive coordinator and was fired as a head coach to come in and be the offensive coordinator in the last 3 games of the season. That would just be silly.
I wasn't talking this year. I was talking next year. Like that's what I was thinking. Yeah, no. Don't drop that fucking fireball in the locker room right now.
I'm just thinking that's exactly what we ended up doing is firing a head football. Yeah. That that sounds like something I would say and then would get yelled at by you and Brooke. So I'm happy that you brought that up.
Because I like to believe that I'm able to give second chances to people even though they've wronged me in some sort of way. I just don't see it happening the same way that it did before. And maybe that sounds crazy, and maybe that's just blind hope that, as big of a douchebag as he was, I think he can turn a corner and really figure it out. But again, maybe it would be a bad idea, but I think that would be fun at least.
Yeah, I mean, I like talking like a strictly like formal manner. I think that would have been perfectly appropriate. I think it's such a different world to be an offensive coordinator at a school like Oregon, as opposed to being a head football coach at a place like Nebraska. That's such a different world. I mean, we saw Chip Kelly leave a Power 4 head coaching job in Los Angeles to go call plays for Ryan Day and Will Howard. It's such a different world. I would love the thought of Scott Frost kind of like what Vance Joseph's doing in Denver, where you come in, you have success. I mean, it doesn't completely negate what those 5 years were like, but kind of puts back together what was once a proud legacy for Scott Frost.
You think, if he has success on the field, if we're winning 7-8 games and he's getting into trouble, like, yeah, people wouldn't be super happy about that. But I think people would be like, hey, yeah, this is our head coach. He's fucking fun. He's out there partying and we're winning a little bit. It's fun. But when you lose to Georgia Southern, and that's where it turns bad.
Yeah, I mean, we'll excuse. I mean, there's a program down south that excuses horrible driving records, and they still do just fine. Yeah. I wouldn't hate that. I think it would be very testy. I think we need to see the people who have been, banging the table, about to storm the Capitol, trying to get Marcus Satterfield fired, to then have to also come to terms with now Scott Frost is calling the plays. I think that would be a crazy, because they're likely the same people. It's usually when you think that firing one coach is the solution, you think, you always think firing the coach is the solution. So that would be funny. I wouldn't hate it from a football standpoint either. Man. Yeah, you're talking me into it. I like how the dominoes have fallen instead, but I don't think that's crazy.
But I also, before people start going crazy in the comments, I'm fully well aware that I don't think that there's any world where Matt Rule would do that, because you're taking the guy that's in charge and you're bringing in a guy that is famous in that state for once his great glory and now his bullshit drinking and partying. I don't think that he would bring that kind of mess into the locker room, or at least the ability to create that mess. But I do think that it would be a pretty decent move for our offense to bring in somebody like that.
And last thing I'll say about Scott Frost, it isn't nothing that as soon as the Alberts administration came in, there was immediate animosity between them. And I think if Trev Alberts had really had his way, Frost would have been gone after that 3-9 season. So that kind of come back in, and I would assume for Scott Frost to come back into this, it would be a situation where he feels very supported and very encouraged. That might produce a more favorable situation for everybody now that Benedict Alberts is gone.
Yeah, and I mean, remind me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Scott Frost is a pretty good recruiter himself. No,
he did.
Whenever he actually goes and recruits people, and not.
Yeah, he did just fine recruiting. I mean, all the players that we love today, outside of a few on offense, all those guys on defense, minus here, right, were his recruits.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate but the thought of a staff with Scott Frost and Mickey Joseph back in Lincoln, very very funny to me.
That would be awesome. Let's just throw it back to 5 years ago. Let's just redo it.
Let's just reconfigure the organization structure.
Also, I'm going to say it. I kind of miss Scott Frost. It was kind of funny when he was there.
I wish.
Looking back now, in the moment, it was like, my God, dude, please. But now, looking back, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Mickey Joseph, that's because I mean he's a head coach now, so I was like, would you rather give that up? Because I'm sure the pay would have to be about the same ballpark. Yeah, it's a Grambling State.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So you'd have to be giving that up, but we see coaches leave jobs like that for position jobs at Power 5 schools all the time. So that would be outrageous. It just matters on what he wants.
Yeah.
So I wonder how Grambling State is doing this year. Not good. Check.
Yeah, those are my two wild child picks there, wild cards. That would be fun, though. It'd be so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and those are coaches that have been very highly renowned, like Dana Holgorsen. So I think no matter what, we're in at least a better spot here. And I kind of made the same points about finding a new offensive coordinator, but this wide receiver room is fairly talented, and I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard, because I imagine that'll be an area where you look to change or improve in the off season. to be like, hey, we already got a wide receiver room full of speedsters. We've already had success in the portal before we, have even really accomplished anything. This is a good spot to kind of hit your wagon to if you're trying to climb up those ranks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also want to make it clear, I'm all aboard the Dana Holgorsen train. Don't get me wrong. These were conversations had before Dana was announced today. But I wanted you, the fans, to know what I was thinking over the weekend.
Gosh, what a world that would be. I love it.
Welcome to the carnival in my mind.
I think everybody's very happy. Can I take a victory lap for saying that firing Satterfield isn't the solution?
Fuck you.
I mean, he's not fired, and everybody's happy.
He was demoted. Piss off. No.
All right. Okay. All right. Just even that avenue was open. Big game against USC coming up. USC's making a switch at quarterback.
We are in trouble, by the way, with that. I'm so scared. So? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of unknown.
Because it's not some freshman coming in. This is a transfer from another school. He can run the ball damn well. He can throw it pretty good. I'm nervous about that guy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, especially because Nebraska hasn't had good success against anybody with any bit of athleticism. And we haven't even faced like a real speed demon or like a real good athlete yet. So that's a problem. I guess what are you looking to see, or what are you hoping to see out of
fucking win? I don't care what happens as long as we win. I don't give a shit. Oh, well, I'll say I want to score 30 points.
30. I mean, I feel like 30 points gets us to 3-0.
Yeah. At the very least 2-1. 30 points gets us to at least 2-1.
Yeah, depending on USC, because I don't think that Wisconsin or Iowa has the firepower to get to 30 if Nebraska's also scoring 30. Can you imagine like a 35-31 Nebraska-Iowa game?
The world would have to be on the brink of blowing up.
Awful stuff. That would be very funny. But yeah, Jaden Mavia is the quarterback for USC this week. Was expected to transfer to Georgia going into the transfer portal. Eventually ends up in Southern California, loses out to Miller Moss. But just to kind of put it in perspective, like Lincoln Riley and Kirby Smart both wanted him to come play football for them. That's a problem.
Yep.
No matter how you draw it up.
But if you're counting hairs here, splitting hairs rather, he did lose to Miller Moss, lost the job to him. I don't know if it was a situation where Lincoln Riley had it in his mind going into the season where it's going to be his job. It doesn't matter. But to make myself feel better, I'm going to say that he wasn't very good, and that's why he didn't get the job. Cross my fingers.
I mean, I think at best, he's obviously not obviously. I wouldn't peg him as a superstar talent because, like you said, if he was, that kind of talent shines very early. Like when Dylan Raiola arrived to campus in the quarterback room with other freshmen and Heinrich Harburg and Jalen Gramstad, it was clear pretty early on. The talent gap doesn't seem that big here, and USC has had it rough. Who do you think feels worse about their season so far, Nebraska or USC fans?
USC. Because we're always hoping for the success. They've had the success. They want continued success. So it's got to be USC. But also you can make the case where, are there really even USC fans out there?
That's true. Like, do they really – like, I don't think they care as much as we do.
Yeah.
So even
Which I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's some diehard USC fans. But it's not – I don't think it's just life or death for them because they have – beaches and outside to look forward to. We have nothing.
We have Nebraska football and Busch Light.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Corn boys.
I love it. Yeah, 30 points is the target here. USC kind of struggling as of late, losses to Maryland, Penn State, Minnesota, Michigan, and then Washington last week. Classic Big Ten battle, USC and Washington.
Hell yeah.
Defensively, I mean, gosh, and the what there's a long list of disappointing things that came about that Indiana game, but I think one of the higher priority ones was we're coming off a bye week. We looked that flat. We looked that unprepared.
Mhm.
And even Coach Rule and Tony White had mentioned, like, Indiana threw out things that we didn't prepare for, and we couldn't adjust. I imagine USC is going to have that same kind of approach. And boy, if you have 2 weeks to prepare for a team that's kind of in the dumps like USC, this feels like a huge opportunity to get right and exercise some demons, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping having two sets of eyes on both offense and defense, with the analysts now, offensive coordinator for defense and offense. Whoa. What I'm trying to say is hopefully the extra set of eyes helps us look at things that maybe we weren't looking at before to prepare or be able to adjust to those things during the game instead of being caught off guard and them throwing their hands up saying, I don't know what to do.
I'm right there with you. Are you optimistic about the game at least?
Yeah, I think we're going to win.
I think so too.
I mean, going into the season, I was like, I don't think we win this game. But now it's looking like it's going to be a W.
Well, especially early on with how good USC looked. They come out, they beat LSU. Like, oh, watch out. And then it seems like as soon as they lost to PJ Fleck and the mighty Gophers, it seems like I was like, okay, this is a more winnable game than I think we pegged it as.
But I want to say Minnesota's a good team this year.
They're sneaky good. Yeah. They're back to a bowl game. I didn't think that they'd get there, but they did. The USC game's a big part of it. So, yeah, and I feel like the Big Ten's a whole lot of, oh, boy, they're not that good. Oh, actually, they're actually better than I thought they would. Oh, well, they lost to this team. That's not very good. Well, actually, that team's better than we thought. And I mean, Indiana is kind of throwing everything on its head. But at least Purdue's still bad. So that'll be pretty cool.
Not going to be the bottom.
Not going to be the bottom, that's for sure. All right, Tyler. Lots of good stuff going on. What are you looking forward to the most about this weekend?
A new offensive scheme. Better play calls, hopefully better blocking.
That would be great. Sign me up for that.
What about you?
Energy. Like I said earlier, this time last year, the whole team felt very panicked. It seemed like there was a very deep cloud of nervousness. I was like, oh shit, well, we gotta beat Michigan State. We're supposed to win that game. Oh shit, we lost to Michigan State. Well, now we gotta go beat Maryland. Oh shit, we lost to Maryland. Oh, we gotta go beat Wisconsin now. Oh shit, we lost to Washington. Oh shit, here comes Deacon Hill across the field. We gotta beat Deacon Hill at home. We lose to Deacon Hill at home. And it just kind of felt like it snowballed into this disaster. And I would just like to see some hunger. I mean, I swear to God, if we come out like we did against Colorado, 3-0.
Yeah.
Like that kind of energy and that kind of, or even against Ohio State, like the way that they responded after getting punched in the mouth by Indiana, just that the kind of energy. That's what I'm looking for the most. I think that takes care of everything else.
Yes, I agree.
All right, Tyler, we'll wrap things up. Any final thoughts?
Go Big Red.